My name is Joshua. I used to be a carpenter in the city, but then I had the bright idea to drag a 32-foot wooden sailboat into the woods of eastern Canada where I'm living off-grid. Built in Japan in 1966, for almost half a century she sailed the seven seas only to be marooned on the other side of the world. I aim to fix that. The only problem, I've never worked on a boat before. This is a boat in the woods. February 2nd, 2026. With the landing platforms finished, it was time to start laying out the stair stringers. This was a job that I always had trouble wrapping my head around, but a set of stair gauges makes it pretty straightforward. They're basically two brass stops or buttons that you attach to your framing square at whatever rise and run you've calculated for your staircase. Once set, all you have to do is mark the cuts and then slide the square down the stringer and repeat. I miscalculated the run more than once, so I had to erase my lines with my small hand plane and try again. I also remeasured the total rise to double check that everything was still in spec. Once I had everything marked out, all that was left to do was make the cuts with my circular saw, and then finish them up with my handsaw. Unfortunately, I also miscalculated the run, so I had to move the lower landing closer to the main platform. Everything is almost certain to shift and settle as the ground starts to thaw, so I'll need to make adjustments to the platforms as it warms up. I'm going to attach the stringers at the top with a removable ledger, and at the bottom they'll be secured with a kicker that's fixed to the lower landing. All that was left to do was mark out the second stringer using the first as a template. Once I had them both cut out, I screwed in the kicker, fastened on the ledger, and then installed the staircase onto the platform with lag bolts. February 3rd. Beautiful morning. Chilly, but the sun was shining. I started the day by ripping a few pieces of strapping in half to act as spacers on the treads. After that, I cut the rest of the treads out of the strapping that I de-nailed last week. Normally, I would use 1.5 inch thick stock for treads, but these are a full inch thick since they're rough cut, and I have the stringers close enough together that it shouldn't have too much deflection. Then I started installing them with my framing nailer and 2.5 inch nails. I made a simple jig to help me line up the 3 pieces of strapping that make up each tread, and then nailed them on. I hate winter. What the? Once they were all installed, I tested them for weak spots, replacing one in the process. The rest of my day was cut short after one of my shock mounts on the RAV broke free while I was driving into town for supplies. Thankfully, I had ordered new OEM mounts a couple weeks ago, so I swapped them out at Chad's shop, being sure to use plenty of Loctite. February 4th. With the upper stairs complete, the next task was building the smaller set of stairs up to the lower landing. I've been melting the ice and snow from the lumber with a propane torch, which is maybe a little excessive, but also very satisfying. Once I could actually draw on the 2x12, I repeated the process of building the larger stairs, just on a smaller scale. Once I had everything cut, I made that supply run into town that was foiled yesterday, and then installed the stairs onto the landing. With the stairs complete, the next step was to install a handrail. I screwed and nailed some spacers onto the side of the stringers, and then used lag bolts to install birch poles as the newel posts. Come on, dude. God. Then, I trimmed them to their finished height and angle with the chainsaw and nailed on a handrail. February 5th. Exhausted today for some reason. Didn't get started until later in the morning. I spent the day building a rail around the top platform out of birch the same way that I built the handrail up the stairs. I'm really happy with how this project turned out. The stairs look great and will make getting up and down from the boat much easier and safer. Plus, it feels really good to check something else off the list. Hey, I just have a few updates. So the first one, which I'm really excited about, is you may have seen me wearing this sweet hat in the last couple videos. That's the logo of Wooden Boat magazine. As far as publications go, they're kind of the leading authority on wooden boats. And they reached out and asked if I wanted to collaborate with them. It's not a traditional sponsorship, so they're not sending me money, but they're giving me something way more valuable, which is the knowledge of how to fix this thing. That's my biggest hurdle, is just I don't really know what I'm doing beyond the fact that this boat is made of wood and I'm a carpenter. It's definitely not a house. So yeah, I can reach out to them. They can walk me through sort of the procedures. They can help me choose fastenings, types of wood, all that sort of stuff. Plus, they've given me access to every single wooden boat magazine ever published in an electronic form. So that's going to be huge for the project. They've asked me to share a link with you guys, so you get 15% off at the Wooden Boat store if you want to buy hats, or they sell tools. They sell like canvas goods. They've got a lot of really cool stuff there, so definitely check that out. And then later in the summer, we're planning something pretty exciting that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. The other thing I wanted to talk about, on the last video, I got a lot of comments to the point where the stupid YouTube AI comment summarizer was saying, your viewers are concerned that you're not focusing on the core project. And I think people are just kind of sick of seeing this stuff, the infrastructure, which I get, but I also had a lot of comments saying that I had to get rid of that ladder. And to be honest, it was not safe. And so, this staircase that I just built is really going to help a lot. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the reality of me being in the woods. I have to build the infrastructure, and I made a mistake with the boat shelter. I'll totally own up to that. I think this tarp is a much better setup because I can drop it down when the winds pick up. And the other thing too is, I am working on finding a space that's more suitable, because when my friends invited me to bring the boat here, I don't think any of us knew how long this was going to take. And so I'm kind of feeling like, they're not pressuring me at all, but I kind of feel like I'm overstaying my welcome here. So I am working on getting into a better position, but for now I have to work with what I have. And then as far as the future work goes, the next steps really are harvesting timber, because you want to do that in the wintertime when all the sap and the water is pushed down into the roots. But we've had an absurdly snowy winter here in Nova Scotia, and no one can get into the forests to cut, especially in the interior where the big logs are, which is what I need. Guys can't even get their tractors in there anymore. So one of the next things, I think the very next thing that I'm going to do is try to see about pulling the engine out of the boat, because that could be something that I can do, in a warm shop when the weather's really bad, is start tearing that thing apart and rebuilding it. The other thing is I've got a shipwright coming, which is going to be huge, because they can, look at what I'm doing, and I think we're going to work a plan out together. So this was necessary because I don't want to be liable for someone falling off of a 2x4 ladder. I don't even know how old, it is. But yeah, thank you. If you're still here, thank you for your patience. I know that it seems like I'm not making a lot of progress. The only thing I will say is it's hard working in the snow, man. Like, you just don't get a lot done. I spent 4 hours shoveling snow today. Here's the pile that I made. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. Progress is coming, I promise. Oh, and then the other thing, I was worried about the flimsiness of this tower that is supporting the top of the stringers. With the stairs attached, it doesn't move at all. So, I probably should have mentioned that in the video, but I forgot. So, yeah, if you're still here, thank you. And I will see you not next week. I'm taking a week off because the snow really kicked my ass this week. but I will see you in 2 weeks. See ya.